really great supportive network of people. And so over the course of those 100 days, you have these 12 companies, they're sitting next to each other, working really hard, and then you get kicked out at the end of it. But the idea is that you get access to investors, people that build companies, not just CEOs, but product heads, and then you also have the discourse between those companies, not just at a CEO level, but at a designer to designer, iOS developer, and sort of work together towards this demo day. So one of the biggest challenges in raising financing is a concept of creating your own wave. Because why would I fund an idea today versus 6 months from now? Just sort of wait and see your progress. The great thing that Techstars have created these demo day instances where companies lead up to the end of the event. Some of them have raised almost all of their funding goal. And you go on stage, and then you're basically there only for an hour or two, and then all the investors sort of jump on you. So it's a really great model, and most classes end up with almost the whole class funded. It's pretty amazing. And so they recently launched a new program which is more of a digital version of it. So the biggest challenge at Techstars is you do have to move to the city where it's at to engage in it. They've launched a pilot program earlier last year, and they're doing a second version where they're basically providing the same amount of funding and the same access to mentors digitally, so you can be anywhere in the world, you don't have to travel. And so, not to put the founder of Techstars on the spot, but I know someone like him might be interested in a real partnership with the UN. So either having a permanent space here, starting something on more of a digital perspective to start. But what's really great about that is you're not asking for donations, it's fully funded ideas. And what they present to the world are great concepts and it leads to a really great chain reaction. So one of the biggest things we've seen is they can bring in a company from a different city that might not have a lot of tech in it, but when they come back, they have funding, they have eyes, and they sort of created a ripple effect within their local communities. And in my class, 12 companies, only 2 were from the U.S. So they have sort of a global viewpoint. I think these 2 groups should really sort of combine forces. So that's sort of an initial idea that I had that I'd be happy to help with. But the biggest part of that is having access to people that build companies and learning how they failed, how they succeeded, and early on being told what to do, what not to do, how to build a successful pitch deck and these sort of things, what not to say in a pitch, and how to sort of evolve it over time. That's even more key in the earlier stages rather than building a company for 6 months and realizing you made sort of a fatal mistake and trying to move on. So failing fast and moving forward is really one of the key things that they teach. Another thing I would mention is Leonardo DiCaprio is a new funder of a larger fund. The name escapes me right now, but what they're doing is they're investing in tech companies. The only basis to enter their process is it has to have sort of a worldview of improving things. And so this is a new fund that he's launched in the last year. It's really innovative. I really like what they're doing, and I can find that name. And then the third is a group called Mai Tai, and it's these 2 entrepreneurs, Bill Tai, who's an investor from Silicon Valley, and a professional kiteboarder named Susie Mai. And they do these great trips around the world. They bring interesting people together. But they've partnered with Richard Branson, and he's been hosting these demo days in Necker Island down in the DVIs, where they bring lots of companies down to do a really interesting demo day over the course of 2 days, and they fund 3 companies. And so he's really interested, and those 2 entrepreneurs are interested in bringing these kind of concepts in-house and showcasing them. So I would love to help you guys. There's lots of people out there that are looking basically for the entrepreneurs you guys have access to, and sort of combining forces here, I think is something that a lot of people are interested in.
That's wonderful, yeah. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
so much.
I'm looking forward to have further talks afterwards. And what I would like here to add is also social entrepreneurship is very good, but I think we have to look now also into ways that global commons thinking needs to be more included. Because if somebody is dealing with energy systems, with water supplies, and so there should be a stronger public-private partnership component. I'm very much convinced that there is the potential for resource mobilization and for profits and everything, but it would be better that society, these local communities and our global Glotcha support structure helps these young people become entrepreneurs, set up companies, but that the profit then and the infrastructure or whatever is developed belongs partly the society and partly these individuals, because private companies thinking does not automatically lead to provision of local and global public goods. So also in the ownership structures we should think about SDG implementation resources as global commons that should be also owned to a certain extent by society, and especially if society enables these entrepreneurs it's reasonable to think of this, because of course we are not socialists, but the critical resources need to be owned by the managed also by the community somehow.
Yeah, I'd love to follow up there. So I was in a conversation where you heard a really innovative idea. I forgot which country in Europe. I'm not sure if they actually implemented it, but their idea was, how do we engage entrepreneurs at a younger level? And they had a conversation around why don't we, take a public works project. Like we have a lot of traffic here, we could use some sort of technology to solve it. And so their concept was, why don't we present this to the public? Have teams come together, pitch us ideas, and we'll select one, we'll fund them, and we'll sort of, promote them moving forward. So that's an interesting way that I'm not actually sure if they did that, but that's a great way to identify entrepreneurs, especially young ones, bring them out of the woodwork, but also use public funding to sort of tie that together and take them to the next step.
Wonderful. I like your way of thinking. Any further discussions? Stefan, would you like to join the discussion and mention also your event?
Sure, just to pick up, and thank you so much for sharing. He's one of our Sustain Us youth delegates. I am Stephanie Smith, here from California, and have the pleasure of serving as the Agents of Change program coordinator for Sustain Us, which is a youth-led, US-based advocacy organization, which Timothy on our panel was one of the original architects of, that is designed to help facilitate youth engagement in the international and federal space through climate advocacy work. And so we initially started this conversation about young people as agents of change during the commission last year when we held our event in the roundtable similar to this space. What Haley described is not just entrepreneurship for the sake of economic development, but entrepreneurial thinking, which can be applied in numerous different settings. And each of us has the opportunity, whether or not we want to be entrepreneurs, to engage in entrepreneurial approaches to how we do the work that we do within our unique spheres of influence. And so this year we're going to have another discussion, and we've expanded it to not only just talking about social entrepreneurship and highlighting the work that folks like you are doing in your communities, but also this notion of political entrepreneurship and engagement, where we are creating an enabling environment as a country and as a world and at the global commons to be able to accommodate folks who may not necessarily consider themselves as actors in a government or a political space, but who have a voice that needs to be heard and the opportunity to influence and have an impact in decision-making processes. And so, indeed, we want to invite you all to come and to share with us your ideas and to hear from young folks who are doing really neat things in their communities to help advance this agenda for sustainable development. And indeed, you're here, you're familiar with the goals, but as young people, we take our role very seriously in terms of helping to frame the conversation around how we achieve sustainable development. We'll be in our 40s by the time 2030 hits, and we therefore consider ourselves as guardians and the torchbearers to continue this great work and to ensure that we achieve this agenda in a way that sets the framework for the world that we are inheriting and will run. And so we do certainly want to invite you to be a part of that conversation. And will the Sustain Us delegates who are here in the room wave and identify yourselves? So as you can see, we're certainly well represented and grateful for the opportunity to join forces and to serve in partnership with the Global Challenges organization. Would welcome the interaction. We'll be here throughout the course of the commission and engaging in numerous ways. So happy to answer questions. And if any of the other delegates would like to chime in and share about the work that they're doing, we all come from different backgrounds and walks of life, but we're united in our commitment to advancing that 18th goal of youth engagement to achieve sustainable development. So would any of you like to share about your experiences or projects that you have going on? The event's taking place, good question. It's posted online, but it's February 7th and it's that last slot, so I think it's at 3 o'clock, that 3 o'clock slot in the conference room. Just in case you want to look it up, I have it up on my screen here. Conference room E from 3 to 4:30 on February 7th. If you're interested in sharing and being one of our designated speakers, please let one of us know, and we'd be happy to plug you in on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Please.
A question, if I could?
Yes, sure.
Good morning, my name is Beth Lissman. I'm new here at the UN as representative for the Loretto community, which is a US-based community of progressive Catholic sisters mostly, although we also have sisters in Pakistan and sister communities in Guatemala and Ghana. And so the professor who was here earlier who's still here. Excellent. So thank you for your excellent example of community engaged research. I don't know if you talk about it that way, or think of yourself as an active member of the at least US-based, perhaps global community engagement movement. That's the movement I just worked in for the past 15 years before coming to the UN. So my question for the folks at Sustain US is, for those of you who are on college campuses, for those of you who are youth, are you engaged as well in that community engagement movement? Because I'm thinking that could be a way to get some of the things funded, right? Approaching the Bonner Foundation or Project Pericles or Campus Compact, some of the structures that already exist. So I'm curious about the connections that are already built there, and if there aren't connections yet built, I have connections with all of those entities, so could we talk?
We'll talk. I teach at St. John's, which a big part of our curriculum in all fields is service learning, because we're a Catholic university. So it kind of, we have that connection, but it's a great idea.
Excellent, thank you.
And I am not on a college campus anymore, but I was. And one of the things, and I hope to be back in an educational administrative capacity, because I do see be a strong opportunity for collaboration engagement there. I think some of us are still in college and can talk about that, even in high school. Indeed, as students, there are a wealth of resources, both on campus and through foundations that can support efforts, and I certainly availed myself to those. But the other piece that we talked about in Vienna, when we had the first version of this conversation just a couple of weeks ago, was the opportunity to engage in our research. So I like this sort of new genre of research called action research, which takes you beyond sort of theory and puts you right in the middle of a community and allows you to frame the questions that you raise and to conduct research in a manner that is designed to have an impact. And so one of the things that I've been encouraging is this idea that we should be more intentional in how we spend our time as students. We have a lot of flexibility a lot of times to be able to pick what we study. And so creating partnerships in the communities in which we live to be able to advance their missions through our work. Like, for example, I knew my congressman growing up, and every time I needed to write a paper, I was sure to reach out to the congressman or city council or somebody to be able to say, hey, what's going on? And how can I participate by studying? And I studied in government, so those are the people that I reached out to. And so I did research that was relevant, that once I got the grade for it, I was able to turn it in and, share it with community stakeholders. And I did the same thing for my senior thesis. So I think beginning to, again, take on that entrepreneurial approach to thinking and allows us to be catalysts right where we are. So we're not all starting a business right now, and we're not all running for office right now. However, plug hashtag not too young to run. But we certainly could be, and we certainly should be. But from wherever we are, thinking in that manner, I think, is one way that we can orient ourselves towards action for moving the needle forward. So thank you for bringing that up. And if you have connections to share with folks, we created a community online called Youth Entrepreneurship 2030. It's a hashtag, and then it's also a group in which you'll see our live streams from this week, and we continue to engage, and we've kind of been pooling resources there. So it'd be great if you'd be interested in joining and sharing that through that platform.
And my name is Shani. I just want also with Sustain Us, just to piggyback off what Stephanie's saying. I think it's important to push that entrepreneurial mindset while people are students still. It's one of those things where no one will ever try to give you as much money as when you are in a school.
Right,
You have so many resources, so much access within your university, within your communities, to things that once you graduate, they may not be as available to you. So it is really important while people have that platform to take advantage of it.
Thank you very much. I think, did you want to? Dominique?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is on. Yeah. Hi, so my name is Dominique. So I've been working in the climate space for a couple of years, and thanks Tim for the shout out earlier. So I'm really interested in this intergenerational mentorship component. I think in the entrepreneurship space, but also in engaging and demystifying UN procedural processes is something that I'm really interested in. Just a quick comment first. So I'm in the process of working with youth from around the world on developing what we're calling now the Youth Negotiator Hub, basically an online platform to connect existing resources and capacity building efforts that are taking place around the world, sort of having a central hub for people to go, and in co-creating content with governments in the sense of explaining the UNFCCC processes or how to contribute to national submissions, things like that. The other side of that component is that mentorship. So one, mentorship between Global South, Global North youth, but what is really lacking is the mentorship between government officials and sort of the non-youth and the youth who are interested in being more active in this space, and some who already are active in this space. And just a little bit more context on myself. So I've been involved in the climate negotiations as a youth advocate, but also on the Seychelles negotiating team. So being in the negotiations and then also being sort of in the youth side, there's some sort of technical capacity building gaps that I think can be really addressed. So I'd like to ask the panelists, but also sort of everyone in the room, what are the key elements needed for that intergenerational mentorship? So how can we, take advantage of, there's a lot of governments who recognize the need to engage more effectively with youth. So how can we create sort of those networks, or what has worked in your experiences in terms of really utilizing mentors?
One thing from my experiences is just asking the question and being mindful of people's time. So like with the ask, saying, oh, this is what we're looking for, we have X amount of people looking for mentorship, they just need, like 3 30-minute sessions over the next 4 or 5 months. And like if you just like give them that time amount, they can schedule it in. Now sort of a loose-ended, I want to mentor, I'm going to reach out to you all the time, that's something that they like to avoid. But if you can sort of structure the amount of time commitment that they would need in the initial ask, I think you would get a much faster response from people.
So I have been also part of the Ethiopian National Negotiation Team, like for the past 2 COP meetings, and as you said, there is a big gap between like the senior negotiators and like the negotiators like us. So I think what's very important is now we have to identify young people who are really interested to be future negotiators, and then give them like consecutive workshop with the senior negotiators, because negotiation is like a policy and it needs a lot of background research, and it needs, you have to know your country status on different categories of issues, and it needs a lot of work, but I think it can be achieved. And one of the projects that we are doing with the French government, like a continuation from the Paris Agreement, is to identify 40 students from the university and to take like 10 classes of negotiations along with senior negotiators. And I think such programs can empower young negotiators. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this information about mentorship as a resource. That's also very critical. And with this, I would propose we make a final round among the panelists. Tim, would you like to start?
Thank you. Just very quickly on the mentorship piece, I'll just highlight there's some good success examples of youth delegate programs. You have them generally at the UN, the Youth Forum, ECOSOC, they're around, but I'm most familiar with UNFCCC. And there's only a few countries that have them. The Netherlands is probably the best example, because they actually give their young people a mandate to engage thousands of other young people in the Netherlands about what's happening on climate change generally, but also connecting them to the negotiations. So we just need to replicate more programs like that, make sure they're transparent. You know, you're not picking the prime minister's friend's niece to be the youth delegate or something like that. They're democratically elected by the National Youth Council in the Netherlands, which is really impressive. They're best practices right there. But if anyone wants to talk more about that angle, happy to. But concluding remark is just that, you know, we have a good intergenerational mix in the room right now, and let's make sure that we have a way to follow up on that as we leave here, and really make sure that, you know, the resources are sharing, because even our generation isn't going to see the completion of the spirit behind Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is another phase, another step in that journey. And at some point, it's going to be completely on our shoulders, and we're going to have to pass the torch. So it truly is intergenerational, and let's make it happen.
Nina, would you like to say something?
Thank you, from my perspective, personal perspective, thank you for great ideas from everybody that I personally want to implement, and I think there is a great opportunity precisely in the sort of resource mobilization within the colleges and universities, so thank you for that. Participatory action research is an old form, but it's interesting that it's coming to light right now, because we talk so much about evidence-based policy making and engaging and so on and so forth. And I think to your points, actually everybody's points, we also need to teach or together find ways how we are convincing when we advocate. And that's part of the entrepreneurial part of research as well. I say that as a researcher. So I think that is something we should add to our agenda of the toolkit, that we need to have intergenerational, of course entrepreneurial, and very strategic, where we also use research and data and information to make our points. And that's how we're stronger.
Thank you very much. And my concluding remark is, so you probably know this tale of Sindbad and this bandits, and there's this treasure cave, and he has to unlock these treasures. He has to say "Sesame, open," and so we have in nowadays world also these caves of treasures. We have the Green Climate Fund, $100 billion every year from 2020 onwards. We have the Global Challenges Giving Pledge, or the Giving Pledge, $400 billion. From the World Bank, the IDA 18th pledge session, $75 billion, and so, and the young person here in the room interested in Agenda 2030 can be also be regarded as Sindbad, and our answer is that Glotcha is the word. Glotcha open is the word that should unlock these resource, these treasures, these caves, and connect really young people who want to do good with the necessary resources. And I hope that you will remember from today's session that we are the new kids on the block. We are those with the music and with the treasure map. So we know we have a plan how to reach these treasures. Let's hope we will live long enough to, to succeed.
Do we still have 5 minutes? Because I have some online questions.
Ah, you have questions?
Yes.
Okay then.
This one is from Paul. He asked you, I think it's for you, Miro.
Okay.
You talked about a TV show. What would it be about? Can we have more details about it?
Okay, the TV show, we have developed the concept for the TV show for the COP21, together with UNESCO, Management of Social Transformation Program, and UNESCO Youth Program, and the European Broadcasting Union. And we have said we do the online competition, and then we have some finalists, and we bring the finalists to the UNESCO headquarters in the most prestigious main hall, and there would be 6 or 8 cameras, and we would have a high quality TV production, also with some elements coming in via satellite communication from front lines of climate change, Vanuatu or whatever. And at the show there would be these young people with their music and with their narrative. There would be celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio and UN Secretary General and other VIPs. And so that we would really make it attractive to listen to these topics. And European Broadcasting Union said they would be our distribution partner. They would distribute the signal to all these public service broadcasters around the world. And we would have needed 300,000 euros to have this high quality production happening, but we didn't succeed to raise the money. We will try again each year, and 1 year we will get it. And then it's really this partnership with media, especially the connection with youth narratives and entertainment factor and with music. This is high potential. That's also something what the media market is looking for. So once we get this initial amount, then the machine will start running.
Okay. The second question is from Viviana. She asked, in this context, what would be your definition of social entrepreneurship? So who wants to answer?
I can answer it because we've had our session about this 2 days ago in the context of ECOSOC Youth Forum. It was the SDG 9 breakout session about sustainable industrialization, infrastructure and innovation. And the social entrepreneurship looks at solving societal problems and environmental problems with market-based approaches in a way that are sustainable, it's income generating, and that the entrepreneurs has a good living, and society, locally and globally has also a living of it. And what we are aiming for, and that has been also mentioned by Nahum, is we need to have a structure in place that documents, verifies, and certifies SDG impact. And so if we build this Agenda 2030 marketplace and the supporting infrastructure, if we will give entrepreneurs certified SDG impact and then make the digital social currencies that connect this with different sources of blended financing, then this will be the new generation of globally connected social entrepreneurship. But we need really the structure in place to have certified SDG impact, so that people will not have only nice words about what they are doing, but that it's really documented and verified and standardized.
Okay, great. Then there is like some comments, like Anna is saying, like, thank you so much for giving a new perspective to social entrepreneurship. From City Ball, who is like a young leader in this country and a writer, he's saying thanks so much for sharing. And yeah, that's it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We are very grateful that you are making this effort for live webcasting and collecting
pleasure.
these online questions. It's really enriching our discussion.
My pleasure.
Kind regards to the virtual participants out there. And thanks also to Eric and to Penelope, who are also documenting this for a report in the Society and Diplomatic Review in one of the next editions. We are happy to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Good, you made it.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.